without further ado, I want to take a couple minutes. And this is, in the spirit of the 4th of July. And I think everybody knows just how patriotic I feel, how patriotic I am, how much I love our country. But in honor of the 4th of July and America's 245th birthday, I invited 2 true patriots. And when I asked, and they said yes, quite frankly, I was telling Stephanie in the pre-show, I'm a little nervous. Like, it's not very often. The last time I spent a significant amount of time with a retired Marine, it was my dad. And I've never spent even 1 second with a retired Navy SEAL. So not only do we have the chance to hear from Robert Donovan, and I want you to think about this. He served as a personal bodyguard to President Clinton, President Bush, Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, Colin Powell. I think the Dalai Lama was in there at some point. I read somewhere. I'm not sure. But as a personal bodyguard, I can be pretty sure that he can throw hands. He can take care of himself. So I'm going to watch my P's and Q's when I'm talking to him. And then on top of that, right next to him, to his left, we have Thom Shea. And Thom Shea is a retired Navy SEAL. But now he is an inspirational speaker and a leadership trainer, which I'm super excited to introduce both of these guys. But Thom served in 3 wars. He has a Silver Star, a Bronze Star, a Valor of Honor. He has an Army Commendation with value. Is it value or valor? It'd be valor, right? Valor. Yeah, valor. And Combat Action Medal. And I'm just reading the pre-show notes, so I know I butchered that. And my dad would be really mad at me. But he was also hand-selected to serve as the officer in charge of the famed SEAL Sniper Course. Thom has a book. It's called Unbreakable. It's a Navy SEAL's way of life. And I just can't thank you 2 guys. I hope everybody can hear you well. I know we could hear you in the pre-call, but I am so excited and so honored and so grateful that you were willing to take your time to come and share with my team. So Robert and Thom, welcome to our weekly Wednesday Zoom call, and the floor is all yours.
And I just wanted to say thank you, David. The energy was contagious when we met in Napa, and it was something that was destiny. I think that this meeting, us being here right after the 4th, nothing's an accident in this life we live, and I think this was all meant to be.
So I thought I'd ask you a few questions if you guys don't mind.
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Thank you. So usually we riff, but this time I thought, how often am I going to get a Navy SEAL and a Marine to be together on the same stage and let me sort of pepper them with a few questions? So the first question I have, given all of your experience, your military, your family, your business success, what are the words and lessons and things that have come across your life that you sort of live by as your North Star?
I grew up at a time like everybody else, and the weird stigma of being a SEAL is we're just normal people, but we have what I call a unique skill set. And the skill set is we learn not to quit on ourselves. And so one of the things that I learned the wrong way, and I don't recommend this to any other human being, is it took me 5 times to make it through SEAL training. And what became possible for me by learning not to quit is one of the greatest advantages that I live by on a day-to-day basis, that when I make a promise, I keep it. And sometimes it comes at the loss of a lot to keep it. And I took that into much of my career as a SEAL, teaching and learning and being around people who don't quit as like a skill set. Greatest advantage is to be around people who do that, like they live by it. And on a day-to-day basis, I see that as the greatest advantage to have in business and health and relationships. Like, imagine what you would be able to accomplish if you just didn't quit. Realizing there's 1,000 reasons to quit in every job, every day. What if you didn't? What if you just didn't quit on yourself? And it becomes a lifestyle. I don't know, what did you learn?
I have to parlay this into the automotive industry a little bit, because I had a dealer in a military town, and we came up with a slogan for him at one point, and it said, "If it has our name on it, you have our word on it." And this dealer meant it. And when we're in the military, we put our last name right here, right over our heart. And putting your name on everything you do, like that's all you got at the end of the day, right? You got your name. Who do you stand for? What do you stand for? What are your values? And I feel like, if I'm going to put my name on something, it's going to be the best darn thing it is. I don't care if I'm taking the trash out. I'm going to make sure it's tied up and, no animal's going to get in that thing, and the lid's going to be down, and it don't matter what it is. So I would say that, making sure that I honor myself by doing a good job when I do something.
And he doesn't put his name on the trash.
I don't have to take the trash out anymore.
I love the don't quit on yourself. And I love the lesson you got. 5 times, is that what it took?
5, yes.
5. And just didn't quit, just kept going. Let me ask you this. Would you have gone the 6th and 7th time if they let you?
Yeah.
You needed to?
Yeah. I went 4 times in a row into a condition called Hell Week, and I could talk about that if you want. It starts on Sunday and it goes to Friday, and you get an hour of sleep the entire time. And the guy that set it up is a guy named Draper Kaufman in 1939, because he was tasked by the president to create a unit that had the ability to go into war knowing they would die, but go anyway. So Draper Kaufman set up a part of training called Hell Week, is to give everybody going through training every excuse and every reason not to do it. Like, you don't want to do it. Your body doesn't want to do it. You're sick, you're tired, and that's in the first hour. What makes it possible for people to be extraordinary is if they pass through that condition called Hell Week. What if you had to encounter every reason to quit on every day, and if you just stopped doing that, you just stopped quitting? And so I would have gone the 6th and 7th time, but I got kicked out after my 4th time. And I had to then go work in the regular Navy, and every day that I worked in the Navy, I was a corpsman or a medic, and I would go to the Admiral's office with a special paper asking him to send me back. And I got demoted because he ordered me not to come back to his office. And then I went back the next day, and he eventually came out. He must have had a good weekend. Maybe he got a little booze in him. So Monday he came out, 9 months after petitioning him every day. He came out and said, either you're the dumbest guy in the world or you're destined to go back. So I went back on Monday, that next Monday, and didn't make it easier, but I'd learned not to give up. And it creates a condition in either salespeople, because the biggest way to quit is sales. There's 1,000 reasons to quit on every day. What if you just didn't? What if you just didn't quit? What would be possible? And I found a way to live that as best I could, especially as a leader in combat. It's so difficult to lead people to their death, and then hopefully they don't die. And it creates a unique experience, is what would happen if you didn't quit. So I knew my guys wouldn't quit, which makes you extremely capable. And so that being a great way to look at life in general. And it's actually learnable. What would happen if you got taught not to quit on things?
Wow. And the team that you had, is it part of the reason you wrote the book Unshakable?
Well, the original book was Spartan Woman, and the publisher didn't like the word because it ends up being 13 lessons I wanted my kids to learn in case I died. And my wife, Stacy, had said, when you're over there, write down things before you go out in the field, because if you don't come back, your kids won't know you. So over the 6-month deployment, I had 22 other men that I was responsible for. And so it ended up being, I don't know why it was 13 lessons. I came back after that lesson was written, so I stopped writing about them. And they're very profound lessons to actually try to figure out. And each one is evolved around the conversation of not quitting. But the publisher changed the title to Unbreakable. I have no idea why. maybe the mental spirit of not quitting makes you unbreakable as a human being. And so the experience that I had in Afghanistan of leading people in very chaotic times, that every time we could go out, somebody was actually going to die on paper. Like, they're that extraordinary that you're not going into a winning situation very often. You're always going into losing situations. So that became a mantra to live by, is you don't have to have a winning solution as well to move forward. You just got to not give up. And that SEAL mindset becomes profound and actually learnable. Like, you don't have to go to hell to learn not to quit. You just got to learn how it's designed.
Thom, say that again. You have to learn how to what?
You don't have to go to Hell Week to learn how not to quit. There's just a design of quitting. Like, humans are designed a certain way. Once you understand the design, you can see where quitting comes into play. And you don't have to quit. You never have to quit on things. Because it's devastating to quit. Every time you quit, you create ripples that hit the shore that are tidal surges, if you understand that analogy. Anytime you quit, you affect multiple people not in your direct sphere. So the SEAL stops quitting.
I can't tell you how many times in my life that I just didn't quit today. I'll quit tomorrow, but I'm not going to quit today. I'm going to hammer through today. I'm going to make it to the end of the day. When I take my shoes off and I get on my knees at the end of the day, if I made it through, I'll figure out if I'm going to quit tomorrow. But I can't tell you how many times that kept happening and happening and happening. And guess what? Tomorrow never came.
Yep.
I'd wake up tomorrow to be today, and I'd quit tomorrow, but tomorrow would never show up. So I would just keep forging ahead. Robert, have you experienced that, especially as a serial entrepreneur? I bet you've experienced that from time to time.
I mean, absolutely. You know, you hit a million dead ends as an entrepreneur, and you fail and you fail forward, right? So you learn from your mistakes and you keep failing. And that's what I teach my children is to keep failing and failing forward. But you don't give up. It's similar to Thom. You change your approach. You know, after the Marines, I was a pro bike racer, and it's really interesting. You know, the Tour de France is going on now. You know, everybody wants to be at the front of the peloton, right? And you know, so everyone's fighting for that to get to the front. But sometimes you got to slide back. You might have to slide back 30 positions, slide over, and then go up over here to get to the front. So it's all about changing your approach. You know, you could keep hitting that wall and never get to the front, but if you change your approach on how you're doing it, change your mentality, change your thinking, what Thom's saying, then you're always gonna get it. You're gonna hit your mark. You're gonna hit your mark every single time. It's like he's saying, it's your mindset.
Robert, I love that. You don't give up necessarily. You just need to change your approach. I can't tell you how many times that I just kept hitting that wall, and all I would get is a bloody head. So let me change my approach. Maybe I don't want to get a bloody head anymore. Maybe I should change my approach. So I love that. I have another question, unless there's anything else you want to tell me about that first question.
I would just say, you know, I could talk to Thom and I'm like, hey man, I'm going to go flank him over here and you're going to hit him, you know, from like, you know, we have the whole hand and arm signal and everything. I can communicate with him without talking, you know, and we can change our approach any which way, you know, so even the language that you speak, the self-talk, you know, that you tell yourself, the music that you listen to, you know, can change your whole mindset and your whole way of thinking about life.
Wow. That, you know, this is off script. So you have your team. I would imagine, I could be wrong, so I'm going to frame it in a question, that you're more concerned with having the right heart, right mindset, and right attitude than you are having the best warrior. I mean, would I be wrong in saying you'd rather have the right warrior teammate than a superstar that doesn't fit with the team?
Can I answer that? Or do you want to?
I mean, you go.
The most unique aspect of being in the SEALs is that they don't like thoroughbreds. They don't like the people who are the best in field, because best in field can't work with anybody else. That's not every industry. In the SEAL teams, it's not that you break you down to you're less effective. Is it's easier to have somebody that, like I said, is built on not quitting, is willing to learn every day, and is not emotionally unstable where they're pissed off that they fail. Like we're going to make fail happen. In the SEAL teams, everything's designed around failing, learning what you didn't do right, and then not doing it wrong the second time. Will get you kicked out. So if you do it wrong second time, you're gone, which is probably not the greatest thing to say in any industry. But learning, the only thing in the SEAL teams is the guns don't matter, the technology doesn't matter. The people are everything in the SEAL teams. You build the people up, they will find the right way to engage on their own, but you build people. You wouldn't think that from the SEAL, if whatever you've seen on TV. The people count more than anything else. You'll never risk your people over a technology. You'll let a jet fall out of the sky, but you'll never risk your men. Even though you're going into risky situations, you never risk your team over any other upside that you would get on a personal note.
Thom, for this team, for my team that I'm very grateful for, that I love, SEALs don't want the only thoroughbred I want is right there. And that's my daughter's. She doesn't even let me sit on it or touch it. I can feed it and pay for it, but I can't sit on it. But that's the only thing. So I've always said I would much rather have the best team than the best player. And I think we're building something really special here. And in that spirit, let me ask you this question. With so much happening in the world, with all that we're experiencing, collectively as a race, the day-to-day challenges, the pandemic, the community unrest, the political differences, the uncertainty, all that stuff that's being thrown at us through social media, through the news, through conversations, what do you guys do to sort of insulate yourself and stay on course with everything? They're almost like, I don't want to minimize bullets whizzing by, especially you two, but as the bullets of negativity and the things that are happening in the world are happening, how do you guys force your way through that and stay positive and pumped?
There's a mantra in the SEAL teams that may answer this rather succinctly, and you may have it inside the business. Team first, family second, me third. Fourth is all the extraneous data that you're fed, stuff that you shouldn't interact with ahead of the other three. So, same thing in combat. There's a million problems. So you look at your team first. How's this going to affect the team? How's this going to affect my family if I make a choice? And does a crisis overseas affect any of those three? If it does, you have to interact with it. If something does affect me, I have to articulate it. Like if an employee's sick, my team is sick, I have to deal with that. The fact that there's a crisis across the street may not be the priority that I have to deal with. All the things that you're being inundated with, try to see if it passes through one of those three. Does it affect me? Does it affect my team? Does it affect my family? If not, go back to doing things that are important to your team, family, and you. Don't chase all that stuff that doesn't impact you. That would be my recommendation.
I love that. So team first, then family, then me, then I called it data, right?
Yeah, data. Yeah, never data first, because you'll kill yourself.
Yeah, that's powerful. Robert?
Yeah, I think in my day-to-day right now, I have to be the best version of myself. And that includes taking things personally. So I have to pay the car payments of all my employees, the mortgage payments, the grocery bills, all those things, So I always am, a little bit different from Thom. I consume a lot of information so I can kind of try to see into the future. I take care of myself physically. I am always meditating, in the morning, in the evening, stuff like that. And I have rituals, to keep myself centered so I can perform to the highest level for all the people around me that I consider to be, their family. Just like you speak so passionately about everybody in the Hansel Automotive Group. And like, you are like, I could just feel the energy and the vibrations coming off of you when we were at that conference, and you were just, like, you're the best at that. I feel that way about our group as well. And, there's nothing, I'm going to eat last, just like him and I, like in the military, everybody eats before you and the leader eats last, right? That's the way it goes. So, it's always about thinking about, the team and what I can do to support them. I'm not on the front lines anymore. They're on the front lines. So I'm kind of in the rear, in the rear with the gear, logistically, emotionally supporting them, in every way I can.
That is a great way to navigate through everything that's going on. And I had to smirk and chuckle because I tell people all the time, one of my favorite things to do, I really want everybody to hear this, because one of my favorite things to do is to talk behind people's backs. Mm-hmm. I love doing that. Look at Nick, the new guy. He's like, you like talking behind people's back? I love it. Every time I get a chance, I do it, but it's always positive. I like what Robert just said when we were in Napa. Like, I am so grateful for my team, and I love all the hard work. Do I always love the outcomes? No, but I love the effort to get the outcome that we got. And then we iterate when it's not going right, right? So, Robert, I'm really grateful that you noticed that about me. And I really love talking behind people's back, because I think the best way for me to feel grateful, the best way for me to be grateful and stay focused on what I appreciate so much is to put it into words, right? You talked earlier, Robert, about the words we say.
I just want to tell everybody on this call that you got a great leader and he cares about you more than you think. I'll tell you that right now.
That's super nice. Thank you. I have one more question. Do we have time for one more? What did the 4th of July mean to you? Because I want to tie it all together, right? It's the 6th of July. We just came through the holiday. Anybody that knows me and sees me on social media knows that I bleed red, white, and blue. I love everything about the United States of America. I am a proud American. What did the 4th of July mean to you two as veterans?
You may not like my answer, but I'll give it to you. My wife and I are obviously very supportive of the notion that you cannot operate effectively under a tyrant. And that was what the 4th of July represented, as a breaking away and declaring your life as not beholden to somebody. And that's what it means to me, is I get to live in one of the greatest times and nations that has ever been in existence. And I'm responsible to my actions, and I'm accountable for my actions. And I support my family, and I'm allowed to do that. And that to me is what I try to live by. And each 4th of July as a family, we talk about the things that got us here and the difficulties that are ahead, so that my kids can experience that. And my daughter is now an Apache pilot stationed in Korea that supports the country. And my middle boy is at Clemson going to school, and my youngest is going into 10th grade. And they know what not living for it, even though they call me a tyrant, not living under somebody's tyrannical, but being able to express myself is a quality that is really United States born. Like, I can be anybody I'm willing to be. I can attain anything I'm willing to put the effort into. It happened because somebody a long time ago broke away from that. You have to live for somebody else. And I hope everybody in America knows that they can do anything they're willing to put the time in for. And it's a unique place to live.
I have to just double down on that, because it's just bubbling out of me. As you were gearing up and you were getting ready to take your team into uncertainty, What was running through your mind, Thom?
Well, so I have to preface it. By the time you go on deployment, you've worked with a group for about 2 years. During that time, every training mission in the SEAL teams is unwinnable. They never give you something that you feel like you're winning. There's a design to that, and I'll tell you about that in a second. So everything is unwinnable. So every situation that you've planned for, somebody dies in training. Not really, but notionally. You have to go tell some mock wives that your husband's dead, and you have to go through all those experiences. So now you're in combat. The only thing that you're focused on is your team. You're not focused on winning a mission. You're focused on what your team has the capacity to do. And there's a million missions, millions of them. You have to figure out what mission your team can digest and execute the best that it can. Even though you wouldn't think that. In the military, you're never given a mission. Hey, go charge this hill and everybody die. That kind of died in World War II. And in the SEALs, you're never given a mission. You actually design them. You got data everywhere. You got capacity, capability. So the only thing as a leader I was ever focused on was my team. What's best for them? What's best for them? And listening to what their issues are on a day-to-day basis. And they were not really worried about dying, because in training you're not interested. You go through those experiences so often. So it wasn't scared that I wasn't going to come home. I would say it more succinctly. I didn't think I was going to come home, so I wasn't worried about it. I never thought that I would make it through that deployment or all the other deployments that I was on. So then you just focus on, like you said, tomorrow, the next tree, the next mission, the next step. You're just focused on the immediate impact that you have, and you don't worry about 20 years from now. You don't worry about 6 months. You kind of think about your family, but never when you're on mission. Like, it's sad as that may be, the only thing that you're doing on a mission is doing what you're supposed to do. I call it doing God's work, but that may not be the right thing to say. But
I love that. That is a great answer. And I totally understand focusing on the next step, the next tree, the next hill. And Robert, I'm sure you identify with that too, being a runner and a biker. Take us home here, Robert. How did this whole 4th of July, what does 4th of July mean to you? Give us a little bit of an insight in Robert.
I mean, for me, I'm super grateful for our country. I haven't been to every country, but I've been to over half of them in the world, either on a passport or not on a passport. I mean, I've seen some stuff out there, and every time I'd fly home, and see somebody getting pulled over for speeding, I was like, man, this is a great country, because you just don't see that anywhere really in the world. And there's always somebody in peril in this world. Right now, there is somebody who's hungry. There's somebody who just experienced a natural disaster. There's something, and the infrastructure that these other countries have is almost non-existent, okay? The fact that we have built this machine that can survive generations time and time again, and we started from scratch. It's just amazing. And every time I go overseas, it validates that. And I am super grateful every 4th of July to be sitting there, watching some fireworks, eating a watermelon. I mean, you just don't get that. I'm telling you, you just don't get that. Most people in this country don't understand what they got. And I can tell you that Thom appreciates it, I appreciate it, and we defended it for everybody. Sometimes we'd come home on a mission, you feel like you're a hero. Nobody even knows what you did. Mm-hmm. How many times have you done that? I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm like, damn, my buddy just died and nobody even knows what we did. But we're doing it, and I can tell you that when I was watching fireworks, I teared up. So that's what that means to me.
Man, that is, I think, I don't know if there's a better way to sort of tie this down. Final thought, final word to everybody that's listening, that you think you'd like to leave us with thinking about till the next time we meet.
I would go back to what we talked about in the beginning. I think everybody has the capacity to be a better human being by learning not to quit. Literally, if you just didn't quit on things when they go sideways and you tried again everywhere in your life, because everybody quits so often we don't know how great we are. Especially in the business that you're in, it's easy to be disturbed when things don't go well. Good, tomorrow, the next day, the next opportunity, the next person you could impact. That's a big deal. And you guys impact a great many people. You may not know that you create the opportunity to get out of the house for a lot of people. That's a big deal. You may not see it that way. Other countries have no shoes. They don't have opportunity that's created by the people that work for you, like even on a small level. So don't lose sight of that while you're trying to complicate the things that you do on a day-to-day basis. Don't quit. It makes you a great human being.
I think to end it the way we started it is a perfect way. I don't know if you noticed in the comment section, but we're getting a lot of thank you for your service. Great job. Best Zoom meeting we've had, and we've been having these for 2.5 years. So what I can tell based on knowing my team and seeing their facial expressions, you two guys have made a significant impact. And I want to thank Robert. Thank you so much for you and your wife for putting this together. I mean, I'm so grateful that I met you in Napa, and I knew that we had things in store for us, but I didn't know that it would impact this many people. So thank you.
Well, that's all Jennifer, man. Thank you. And yeah, this was great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank Jennifer for me. I don't know if she's listening, but if she is, thank you, Jennifer. And Thom, thank you so much. I know how busy you are. I know your leadership company does a lot of good work. I did a lot of research on you before you joined us, and I'm so grateful for both of your service. I want to thank you for joining us. And please, 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 if you're ever in San Francisco, if you need a car to drive, if you need some help, if you need a chauffeur from the airport, Andy will be happy to do it. I'm kidding. Call me and I'll be the guy waiting for you at the airport, ready to take you wherever you want to go. And I'm so grateful for your time. So everybody that joined, thank you so much. And to our special guests, thank you very, very much. I'm incredibly grateful for everything. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.